Discover the heartwarming truth. Pianist's touching melody reveals 30-year-old lost love story. Jack Miller never forgot the first time he saw Sarah Thompson, her laughter echoing through the air like a melody that lingered long after she left the room. Every note they shared, every stolen glance, felt like the promise of forever. But in the eyes of her affluent family, his humble beginnings painted a different picture, a web of dollar signs versus dreams, severing the cords of their love. 30 years later, memories still danced in Jack's heart, the pain woven tightly with the music that filled his life. On a chilly winter afternoon, Jack found himself rummaging through his late grandmother's attic. Dust motes danced in the fading light as he unearthed an old, forgotten piano. Its keys bore a layer of neglect, but the sight ignited a spark of nostalgia within him. He couldn't resist the urge to play. Gently, he brushed the dust away, revealing polished wood beneath a treasure from a world long lost. Instantly, the room filled with a sound that stirred the very fabric of his being. A symphony echoing the past he once cherished. That melody, the one he had composed for Sarah, was reborn right there. Each note wheeled through the air, wrapping around the fading walls of his memories. People in Maplewood paused, drawn in by the hauntingly beautiful tune that floated through Jack's open window. It slithered into their hearts, warming them like a cup of cocoa on a frigid day. As neighbors listened, stories sparked like fireworks, reminiscing about their own youthful romances and dreams dashed by life's cruel hands. The sorrow and hope intertwined as they shared tales of lost loves and the fight to rise above. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the melody poured into their lives, Jack began to uncover layers of confirmation colored by whispers of the past. Little did he know, buried beneath years of heartache was a revelation about Sarah, a truth that would shake his understanding of who she really was, and by extension, who he had been all this time. Elder townsfolk recalled moments that felt like a dream, Jack and Sarah's laughter mingling with the sounds of the bustling town. Families gathered, sharing in a mystical experience of time forgotten, filled with possibilities and newfound connections. But as Jack breathed life into the community with his playing, he felt the weight of old wounds pressing down on him. The ghosts of his past intertwined with those of the town, resonating with the need for closure, igniting the flames of forgiveness deep within him. Would he be able to confront the buried emotions? Was closure worth uncovering the painful truths? Facing the echo of Sarah's laughter within the community's hearts, Jack stood on the edge, the melody spiraling into a powerful crescendo. As the piano notes soared, uncertainty enveloped him. Dare he unearth all that lay in the shadows? The decision would define not only his path but the fate of the connection he once shared with Sarah. Would the truth be worth all he might lose? The music pulsed, and so did his heart, reminding him his journey was just beginning. A hush fell over the small town as Jack played on, each note resonating with emotions long buried. His fingers danced across the keys, losing themselves in the music, but beneath the surface, his thoughts raced. Memories of Sarah flickered like candles in the wind, illuminating moments of joy, heartache, and unfulfilled promises. Just then, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of the crowd gathered outside his window. Maggie, his childhood friend. Her smile brought light to the dreary winter day. As a child, she had often been the bridge between Jack and Sarah, sneaking messages and playful notes. But over the years, Maggie had taken a step back, respecting the silence that had grown between Jack and the love of his life. Jack? Maggie called softly, her voice blending with the piano's fading notes. He paused, drawing a shaky breath, and looked up. Maggie, it's been a while. She stepped closer, her eyes reflecting the warmth of nostalgia. I heard the music. It's beautiful, just like I remember. You always knew how to capture a moment. The truth hung heavy in the air. Jack forced a smile, But inside, he was battling the fears of what opening old wounds might bring. I just thought it was time to play again. You think it brings back good memories? Maggie's gaze turned distant. For some, yes. Others, maybe not. But it's important to remember, I senti it. It's part of who we are. He nodded, appreciating the weight of her words. But what if remembering brought all the pain rushing back? A sudden shout broke through the murmur of voices outside. Hey, everyone! Look at that! A young boy pointed towards the corner of the street where an old pickup truck had pulled up. Jack's heart leapt. He recognized it instantly, Sarah's family truck. Shivers of anxiety cascaded down his spine. Could it be? After all these years? As if on cue, the door of the truck swung open, and a woman stepped out. Jack's breath hitched in his throat. Seeking reconciliation or closure, Sarah was standing there, her familiar silhouette sending waves of anxiety through him. Time had painted her with a depth he'd never imagined. She looked around, her eyes landing on Jack's, igniting a firestorm of conflicting emotions within him. Maggie realized the tension in the air and gently placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. Are you all right? Jack squeezed his eyes shut for a moment, pushing down the torrent of feelings that threatened to rise. I don't know if I can face her. Not when everything is still so fragile. But the music had drawn Sarah closer, her figure emerging as if called by the very melody he'd played for her all those years ago. Suddenly, the notes seemed to shift, becoming something deeper, something more than just a haunting memory. It was a call to confront their past, a chance at healing, or perhaps, one last moment as Sarah took a hesitant step forward. Jack's heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm of the piano. Here she was, the melody he had lost half a lifetime ago, standing before him like an unfinished song begging for resolution. Would he finally have the courage to face her, to seek the truth that lay hidden beneath their tangled history? The uncertainty loomed larger than life. The melody hung in the air, waiting for the next verse. What would he say? What would she reveal? The questions raced through his mind and the answers felt closer than ever. Jack's heart hammered in his chest as he watched Sarah take another step forward. The world around him seemed to fade, leaving only the two of them in that suspended moment. Her dark hair danced softly in the winter breeze, framing her face like a wistful memory. The weight of unsaid words hung heavy in the air, a mixture of longing and fear filling the spaces in between. Jack, her voice reached him like an echo, tender yet trembling. It was as if she was testing the waters, unsure if the bond they once shared could withstand the passage of time. He swallowed hard, every instinct telling him to step back, to retreat into the protection of his music. But the pull was too strong, the unfinished symphony of their past beckoning him like a lighthouse in a storm. Sarah, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Maggie stood silently beside him, sensing the fragile air that surrounded them. The crowd outside had shifted their attention, curiosity piqued by the unexpected reunion. Jack's fingers itched to return to the piano, to give shape to the tumult within him. But this was about more than music. It was about connection. I didn't know if I'd see you again, Sarah finally said, her eyes searching his, a storm of emotions churning beneath the surface. Not after everything. The vulnerability in her voice struck him like lightning, sparking long-buried feelings that had been waiting for just this moment. Neither did I. Life has a way of changing things. And people. He could barely look at her, the memories pressing in shared laughter, lost promises, and the bitter taste of regret. Yet the warmth of her presence lifted the shadows. But you're here, she said softly, a tiny flicker of hope in her tone. And I'm here. Maybe we can talk? Just for a moment? He hesitated, torn between the urge to escape and the desire to understand. The notes of the piano hung in silence, as if they too were waiting for his answer. Jack glanced at Maggie, who offered him an encouraging smile. She had always believed in second chances, in the power of healing. Maybe it was time he did too. Okay, he said, finally finding his voice. Okay, let us talk. As they moved to the sidewalk, the crowd shifted, giving them space yet closing in around the edges. Jack could feel every pair of eyes following them, the weight of their curiosity pressing down on him. But this was not a performance. It was real. Each step toward her felt like wading through thick fog, uncertainty clouding his view. "What has been happening?" he asked, the question tumbling out before he could think it through. It was abrupt, but he needed to bridge the chasm time had carved between them. Sarah sighed, the sound a mix of relief and sorrow. "It's been complicated. So much has changed since that summer we lost each other. I've thought about you every day, Jack. Have you thought about us?" His pulse quickened as he met her gaze. Deep down, he knew this was a question he had avoided for too long. She had been his muse, his reason for creating music, and yet he had buried that part of himself the moment she walked away. He opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught in his throat. "Jack?" Sarah's voice was hopeful, laced with anxiety. "Yeah." He took a deep breath, grounding himself with the memories of the past. "I have thought about us." But just as he was about to confess how he felt, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd, drowning out his words. The moment fractured, slicing through their connection like a sudden gust of wind, leaving them both breathless. Jack glanced toward the crowd, confused, but when he turned back to Sarah, her expression had changed. She was no longer just a figure from his past. She was here, now, uncertain but still willing to push through the pain. "Maybe it's time for us to face the truth," she said, a determined glint in her eyes, "even if it hurts." The tension hung like a tightrope between them, each heartbeat echoing an unanswered question. Would he have the courage to confront the past, or would fear push him back into silence? With his own unanswered questions swirling in his mind, Jack took a step closer, ready to bridge the distance. But then, he noticed something in the crowd, an unexpected figure, hovering close behind Sarah, watching them with a keen interest. Who was it, and what did they know that could change everything? As Jack scanned the familiar faces, a sense of dread knotted in his stomach. The uncharted territory of their shared history was about to become even more complicated. Jack's heart raced as he locked eyes with the figure lingering at the edge of the crowd. It was Mark, Sarah's older brother. Jack hadn't seen him in years. Memories flooded back sunlit afternoons spent at their house, his laughter mixing with Sarah's. They once felt like family, but that was before everything changed. What's he doing here? Jack thought, his mind spinning. Mark had always been protective of Sarah. The last thing Jack wanted was for him to interfere now. He was barely managing the conversation as it was. "Jack?" Sarah's voice pulled him back into the moment, the worry etched on her face. "Are you okay? You seem distant." "Yeah, just surprised to see Mark," he murmured, glancing back at the figure who was now talking to someone in the crowd. The ever-watchful big brother routine was still strong. Jack felt a knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. "Do you want him to leave?" she asked, her gaze flickering towards her brother. "No, I don't want anything to come between us," Jack admitted, wishing it were that simple. Would Mark's presence change the stakes? Sarah nodded slowly, her features softening. "I brought him because I didn't want to face this alone. I guess I was afraid." The vulnerability in her voice tugged at his heartstrings, their shared past weaving tighter around them like a blanket as they stood on that busy sidewalk. Half hidden from the bustle of the world, Jack felt the energy of their moment shift. "We both have fear," he said, his voice steadying. "But what if we could tackle this together?" Her eyes flickered with that spark of determination he remembered from their youth. "You're right. We both need to speak openly." There was a mutual understanding, a willingness to fight through the noise. Jack drew in a deep breath, the cold air stinging his lungs. "There's a lot I regret, Sarah. About us. I let fear control me for too long. But seeing you again, it's made me realize how much I've missed me, or the idea of us." She interrupted, her brow furrowing slightly. He hesitated, grappling with the question. "Maybe both? I don't know. I just know that there's this ache in my chest whenever I think about you." "Me too," she whispered, emotions thickening the air between them. "It's always been there. But do we even know what we want now? I mean, our lives have changed so much." Jack opened his mouth, ready to pour out everything, every secret and every hope. But at that moment, Mark turned back toward them, his expression serious. "Hey, is everything all right? You two look intense." "Just catching up," Sarah replied, her voice laced with an edge Jack now realized was self-consciousness. She glanced between the two men in her life, uncertainty creeping in. "Yeah, old friend stuff," Jack added, a hint of unease creeping into his voice. Mark studied them closely, and Jack felt exposed under that gaze. Sarah shifted slightly closer to him, as if to bolster their bond against any judgment. "Look, I may not know what's going on between you two," Mark began, his tone surprisingly calm, "but I know you once meant a lot to each other. Just be careful, okay? This isn't a game. You think I don't know that?" Jack shot back, the urgency rising inside him. "We're trying to find our way back, not harm each other." "Then take it slow," Mark implored, concern mixed with protectiveness in his voice. "For both your sakes." The crowd seemed to swell, each face around them reflecting a wide array of emotions: curiosity, empathy, hope. Jack felt like they were on display, every moment and every glance amplifying the weight of their decisions. In the midst of everything, he turned back to Sarah, her expression one of mixed fear and curiosity. "We have to address what's left unspoken," he said quietly, the words spilling out with all the urgency he could muster. "I can't go back to pretending. Not anymore." As he spoke, the crowd behind them blurred into the background, and for the first time in years, Jack felt a flicker of clarity. This wasn't just about their past. It was about finding a way to reimagine their future. But could they truly confront the truth that had haunted them both? Just then, something shifted in the crowd, a shout rising above the rest, capturing everyone's attention. Heads turned, momentarily breaking the tension. What now? Jack wondered, his heart racing with anxiety. And then he saw a figure moving through the crowd, drawing nearer, something about them causing his blood to run cold. Was this person about to unveil secrets he had long kept buried? The air grew thick with anticipation. The revelation was knocking at the door. Would Jack and Sarah have the courage to face it? The figure pushed through the throng, each stride purposeful, drawing Jack's gaze with an undeniable force. As they stepped into clearer view, the recognition hit him like a thunderbolt, a fleeting glimpse of a familiar face from a lifetime ago. "Is that?" he whispered, barely believing his own eyes. "Who?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with concern. Jack opened his mouth to respond, but the name choked in his throat. It was Emma, a piece of his past he thought he'd locked away for good. She had been the girl who lived down the street, the one he had confided in about everything from secret crushes to dreams of the future. Their friendship had been a light in darker times, but it ended in hurt, misunderstandings, drawing lines where there shouldn't have been any. As she approached, that playful spirit was still there, illuminated by the warmth of a smile that Jack had once longed for. But now it felt strange. What is she doing here? The questions rushed in like a tidal wave. Emma didn't seem to notice him immediately. Her attention was focused on the commotion nearby. Voices rose, all eyes drawn to her as she clasped a small, battered piano case close to her side. "Jack?" Sarah nudged him softly, cutting through the fog of memories. "What's happening?" I think she's here to perform," Jack mumbled, his heart pounding in disbelief. Why hadn't he thought about the consequences of running into Emma again? Memories danced in his mind of stolen laughs, silly plans, and the moment everything fell apart, fracturing their bond like glass shattering on the floor. Mark's brows knitted as he caught the exchange between Jack and Sarah. "You know her?" "Too well," Jack admitted, feeling the weight of unresolved feelings crash over him like waves. But he knew he couldn't let his past control him now, not with Sarah standing beside him. Emma cleared her throat, her voice strong, commanding attention. "I've been looking for a place to share this piece, something I've held on to for years," she announced, her eyes sparkling as she surveyed the gathering crowd. "It's about love, lost, found, and everything in between." Jack's heart sank. It was as if she were reaching back through time, pulling out threads of old feelings, threading them together with words that had never been said. He could practically feel Sarah stiffening beside him, the tension in the air shifting like smoke. Maybe she's better off without me, he thought, the old familiar ache twisting in his gut. But Sarah seemed to sense his turmoil and squeezed his hand. Grounding him amidst the storm of emotions, Emma began to play. The melody washed over the crowd, a blend of nostalgia and hope that tugged at Jack's heart. Each note seemed to weave a story of love, regret, and yearning, intimate and raw. Jack remembered how their fingers used to dance over piano keys together, how much he had cherished those moments. What if she remembers all the pain just like I do? Jack thought as he let the music penetrate deeper. He glanced at Sarah, whose eyes were wide with wonder, reflecting shards of both delight and uncertainty. A whirlwind of emotions flickered across her face, signaling the dawning realization that Jack hadn't fully moved on from his past. Emma's performance reached a crescendo, eliciting murmurs from the crowd, and Jack felt the walls he built around his heart start to crumble. He was standing at the crossroads of his past and future, perilously balanced. Just as the last note dissipated into the air, the applause erupted, but Jack barely heard it. He was lost in his thoughts, battling the memories and the weight of choices looming large before him. He turned to Sarah, searching her face for answers, but found only questions mirrored back at him. Jack, what do we do now? Her voice barely broke through the haze of uncertainty. The answer lay within him, amidst the echoes of Emma's song, a truth he had been too afraid to face. A truth about love, life, and the bridges he had to mend. How could he explain this whirlwind of emotions to Sarah? And as he opened his mouth to speak, a familiar voice cut through the air, pressing for Jack's attention again. So, Jack, how has life been treating you? Emma's voice was casual, but the weight of the moment was anything but. The truth was teetering on the edge, waiting for him to take the leap. What would he say? Would it tear them apart or bring them closer? In that moment, he realized he held the reins to his own narrative, but would he choose to steer toward healing or to retreat into the shadows of his past? The crowd held its breath. Jack swallowed hard, the lump in his throat growing bigger. Emma's question hung in the air like a dream he couldn't shake off. The moment felt surreal, almost like the world had come to a stop, just for them. He could feel Sarah's gaze shifting between him and Emma, an unspoken worry settling between them. Well, he stammered, grappling with the explosion of feelings that crashed inside him. How could he even begin to answer her? Years rolled back, memories swirling around him like leaves in the wind. It's been good, he managed to say, every word feeling like it was pulled from a deep well of emotion. The honesty felt refreshing yet terrifying. Emma flashed him a genuine smile, a spark of recognition igniting in her eyes. That's good to hear, she replied softly, her demeanor warm and inviting, making it all the more difficult for him to maintain his distance. I was worried about you. Jack's heart skipped. Worried? Why would she ever worry about him? The echoes of their past flared up, a shared friendship turned complicated, an unsaid fallout that drove them apart. He cleared his throat, wanting to say more, but unsure if the words were worth the risk. So, you still play? He asked, struggling to keep the conversation light. But he was all too aware of the depth lurking beneath their words. Of course, she beamed, holding up her worn piano case. This one has traveled with me through everything. I've done a few small gigs and some teaching, too. It feels right to share my music again. The joy in her voice reminded him of countless sunsets they had spent together, dreaming of futures that seemed both bleak and beautiful. Jack took a breath, emboldened by the flicker of hope in her eyes. Great to hear. Your music, it always had a way of bringing people together. Sarah shifted slightly, squeezing Jack's hand harder now, as if sensing a fracture beginning to spread between them. He turned to her. Sarah, this is Emma, he introduced, his voice steady though his heart raced. We, grew up together. Emma extended her hand with a friendly smile, but the tension in the air thickened like fog. Jack could see Sarah's smile wavering at the edges, her eyes searching. She wanted to understand this connection, to understand him. Nice to meet you, Emma said, her voice sweet with sincerity. Nice to meet you too, Sarah replied, though her tone lacked enthusiasm. Jack could almost hear the clock ticking, its rhythm matching the unspoken questions filling the space around them. "Jack's been great. Always full of surprises, right?" Sarah prompted, trying to lighten the mood, but Jack sensed a hint of doubt. "So, are you two together?" Emma's question came out naturally, yet Jack felt the room swirl with a sudden tempest of uncertainty. The music had painted their past in delicate strokes, but right now, reality felt jagged. "You could say that," Jack replied, his gaze darting between Emma and Sarah. He felt a wave of guilt wash over him. What was he doing? He hadn't fully committed himself to anything, and here they were, straddling the altar of possibility and the precipice of heartbreak. "Good. I'm glad," Emma said, though doubt crept into her voice. There was a beat of silence, heavy with the weight of lost time and unrealized dreams. Jack could feel the unease simmering beneath the surface, ready to bubble over. Each glance exchanged between the two women felt like a delicate negotiation, balancing his past with an uncertain future. Suddenly, the crowd erupted into applause once more, breaking the heaviness. Jack's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing. He had to say something, had to make a choice. "Emma," he started, but the words were tangled, stuck between hope and fear. Everything in him screamed to dive into the past, to confront those feelings that had simmered for years. But the desire to protect Sarah tugged him back, and just like that, with the weight of those powerful chords still resonating in his ears, the moment remained suspended, their futures interwoven yet fragile in that breathless space. What would he choose to reveal as the next note of their stories began to play? The crowd awaited his response as the past and present beckoned for his decision. Jack's heart raced as he looked into Emma's eyes. Those familiar depths held memories of laughter, shared dreams, and that moment on the rooftop during their senior year when everything felt perfect. But now, the stakes felt higher, the past pressing down on him like a weight. "Emma," he began again, his voice just above a whisper, trembling with uncertainty. He saw a flicker of eagerness in her gaze, a hope that they could return to something. Did she feel it too? The pull of their shared history. But all that lay between them was a vast chasm of silence and unspoken words, filled with pain and yearning. "Jack?" Sarah's voice cut through the haze like a sharp note, and he turned to her, her brow furrowed, doubt and concern etched in her features. He felt the pull of her hand in his, anchoring him to the present as the tug of the past threatened to unsteady him. "Maybe we should go." "Huh?" she suggested, a light tremor in her words. He could hear the hesitance. It was as if she was trying to wave away the ghosts of his past love while grappling with her own insecurities. "Wait," his voice faltered as he faced both women. I don't want to leave like this." The crowd around them faded to a whisper. He could still hear the music, the notes floating like memories through the air. Steeling himself, he turned back to Emma, the reality of their shared history crashing over them. "Do you remember that time we tried to sneak into the music festival?" Emma smiled, her eyes shining with remembrance. Jack chuckled softly. "Yeah, and we got caught by your dad." He was furious. They both laughed, but the laughter felt strained. Jack could see Sarah's heart beating in her eyes. She was searching for clarity. Emma's smile faded slightly, replaced by a complex cocktail of emotion. "You were my best friend, Jack. We shared so much." Jack felt a sharp pang of regret slicing through him. "And I messed that up. I made choices that hurt us both." The air grew heavier, charged with an intimacy that teetered dangerously close to nostalgia. The applause from the crowd faded entirely now, leaving them in a world of their own. "You have a way of bringing people together, Emma," Jack said finally, pouring every ounce of sincerity he possessed into the words. "I've seen that. Sarah and I were still figuring things out. And you've always been the melody that lingers." Emma's eyes softened, a mix of gratitude and sorrow. "You don't have to choose, Life isn't a song that only has one tempo." But Jack felt the weight of his choices press down on him. He knew he owed Sarah more than a half-hearted explanation. She deserved every part of him, with no shadows lurking in the background. The tug-of-war within him intensified, pulling him further in opposite directions as the music in the cafe swelled once more. Jack glanced over to Sarah, who was now biting her lip, bitterness flecked with sadness. He could sense the chasm widening, feel the distance growing. "Do you still want to play?" he asked Emma suddenly, a desperate attempt to shift the focus. "A song for old times?" Emma hesitated, but then nodded, hope mingling with uncertainty. "Sure. But will you come with me? We could share this moment." Jack felt Sarah's grip on his hand tighten, her confusion palpable. What was he doing? Was it fair to Emma, or to Sarah? The questions spiraled, louder than the music. Suddenly, everything felt too fragile, too important. And just like that, adorned in an orchestra of conflicting feelings, Jack stood at a crossroads. Could he truly experience the melody of their past without losing what he had with Sarah? The weight of those choices settled in his stomach as Emma opened her case, revealing a worn, beloved piano. The familiarity of it sent his heart racing. What music would they create, and could he find balance without losing the rhythm of his present? He took a deep breath, ready to face whatever notes awaited them next. Jack's heart thudded in his chest as Emma's fingers danced over the keys of the piano, her touch delicate yet confident. The first notes broke the silence like the first rays of dawn breaking through a cloudy sky, filling the cafe with a warmth that chased away the chill of uncertainty. His gaze darted to Sarah. Her expression was a kaleidoscope of emotions: fear, confusion, a hint of betrayal. Jack felt like he was teetering on the edge of a precipice. One wrong move could send him tumbling into a chasm of regret. As Emma played, nostalgia streamed through the air, intertwining the past and present with chords that felt achingly familiar. The song swelled, and Jack could see Emma losing herself in it, her eyes closing as she poured her heart into every note. It was a beautiful escape, but Jack felt the weight of their unspoken words pulling him back. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "Are you really okay with this?" He turned, searching her eyes for understanding. "I just want to remember, just this once." It sounded weak even as he said it, and his throat tightened. The tension was palpable, yet he couldn't look away from Emma. There was still a spark between them, a bond forged in years of friendship that hadn't completely faded away. But with every note, Jack felt Sarah slipping further away, her fingers still gripping his, but her expression growing more distant. Emma began to sing softly, her voice mingling with the melody in a way that sent a rush of memories flooding back. "We were young, wild and free." The lyrics hung in the air, filled with a bittersweet honesty. "Yeah," Jack murmured to himself, lost in the melody. He could almost feel the cool summer breeze from that rooftop long ago, the smell of blossoming flowers, and the warmth of friendship that felt like love without the complications. But what was simply nostalgia for him was a confusing mixture for Sarah. He glanced at her again. She looked torn, as if she was caught in a storm. "Jack, do you really want to go back there? To a time when things were different?" His heart sank. "I don't want to go back, I want to appreciate how we got here." The song began to rise, and Emma's voice soared beautifully. The cafe patrons had turned their attention to the trio, their faces reflecting a shared enchantment with the music. For a moment, Jack thought perhaps they could create something beautiful again, but the joy felt hollow with Sarah's eyes filled with hurt as the last notes faded. Silence wrapped around them like a cloak, leaving only the sound of Jack's heavy breathing. He could see a tear shimmering down Sarah's cheek, and that single drop broke him. "Emma," he started, his voice thick with emotion, I can't keep doing this." Emma's expression shifted with understanding, but she pulled back, all the warmth of their earlier connection suddenly icy. "Jack, I never meant to come between you two." "I know," he sighed, his world feeling like it was spinning out of control. The grip of the past was still strong, but he had to face the present more than ever now. He turned towards Sarah, his heart racing. "I've been so confused. I care about you, but I also don't." She interrupted softly, her voice steady but pained. "Don't say anything you might regret. Just give me a moment." The weight of her words sank in like a stone. For Jack, it had always been about love and connections, yet now it felt like he was losing both. In that moment of clarity, he understood the truth. Navigating these tangled emotions was anything but simple. Would he lose Sarah forever? The dread settled in his stomach like lead as he faced his decisions that would shape his future. With a glance back at Emma, who was trying to compose herself, he realized he was standing at yet another crossroads. The past pulled at him, but it was the present that demanded his attention. Would he step back and choose the risks of love right in front of him, or chase the shadows of an uncertain past? As he opened his mouth to speak again, the door to the cafe swung open with a crash, pulling all attention and his heart in a new direction. Who was it? Why did everything seem poised to change? Jack's head snapped toward the door, his stomach twisting into knots. The jarring sound of the entrance echoed like a starting pistol, signaling a shift in the atmosphere. A gust of cold air rushed in, carrying with it the scent of rain-soaked pavement and an undeniable tension that could be felt by everyone in the room. The figure that stood there was unmistakable, outlined by the faint glow of the cafe lights. It was Matt, an old friend from their high school days. The rustle of murmurs swept through the patrons as they recognized him. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't seen Matt in years. Their paths diverged after graduation and, somehow, had never managed to cross again. "Matt, what are you doing here?" Jack blinked, bewildered, as he took in the man's weariness, the shadow of something unspoken lingering in his eyes. As Matt stepped further into the cafe, his gaze met Emma's, a flicker of something passing between them, an understanding, perhaps, a shared history. Jack's heart raced, pounding against his ribcage with a mixture of excitement and unease. "I'm sorry to barge in like this," Matt said, brushing back a stray hair from his forehead. I was in the area and thought I'd check out the place." His voice was steady, but Jack sensed an undercurrent of nerves. Sarah shifted beside him, her earlier hurt momentarily forgotten. "You didn't know we were here?" "I didn't," Matt replied, eyes darting nervously. "Honestly, I had no idea Emma was performing tonight." Jack felt the room's energy shift, dynamics swirling like autumn leaves caught in a sudden gust. Was this a coincidence or fate pushing them all together again? Emma had paused, her hands resting quietly on the piano. Her expression was caught between surprise and something deeper. Was it longing? Regret? "Hey, Matt." Emma finally spoke, her voice ringing with a mixture of warmth and caution. "It's been a while." The silence stretched, thick with unformed thoughts and hidden pasts waiting to be unveiled. Jack stole a glance at Sarah, who was still processing this new arrival. "Yeah, it really has," Matt said, his eyes searching Emma's. "I heard your song and had to come in. It brought back memories." The words hung in the air like the strains of the melody that had just faded, each syllable weighted with nostalgia and unaddressed feelings. Jack's heart sank again, but this time it was different. The unease transformed into something more profound, revealing the fragility of their interconnected lives. "Why now?" Sarah asked, her tone a blend of confusion and curiosity. Matt looked at her, then back at Emma, his expression earnest. "Because I realized something when I heard Emma's song. It's not just about what we've lost, but what we still have. And I've been holding on to things that should have been said years ago." Jack's heart pounded in response to the weight of those words. What was he about to reveal? Did Matt harbor unspoken feelings for Emma? An unsettling twist of jealousy knotted in Jack's chest. As the unfolding drama unfolded among them, Jack felt the shadows of the past creeping in, threatening to rewrite their story altogether. "Jack, Sarah," Matt continued, "I've come back to make things right. I want us all to find closure." The air crackled with uncharted emotions. Jack's pulse quickened, and with every breath he took, a question blossomed in his mind: could Matt's return change everything? And amidst this brewing storm of feelings and revelations, Jack suddenly felt a stirring within him, a desperate need to confront the decisions that lay before him. What did closure even mean in the tangled web of their hearts? Would they each find what they so desperately sought? Or would they open the floodgates to a past that was better left untouched? Feeling like the pieces of a long-dormant puzzle were being shifted around, Jack could only grip the table edge and brace himself. The answer would come soon, but at what cost? Jack's heart raced as Matt stood in the doorway, the weight of old friendships and unspoken words colliding. The casual tone in Matt's voice held an urgency that pulled everyone into its orbit. Jack felt as though a dam was breaking, the waters of the past rushing forth, threatening to drown them all. He couldn't shake the feeling that this moment held the potential to either heal or shatter everything. Closure? Sarah echoed, her brow furrowing. Closure is a nice idea, but it's never that simple. Jack could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her muscles coiled like a spring ready to snap. His mind raced, circling back to the chaos swirling around them. Matt's return had ignited something unquenched in him, that unrelenting desire to confront the past, to figure out what it all meant. Sarah's right, Jack said, trying to stay grounded in the whirlwind of emotion. But what does that even look like for us? We can't just ignore everything that has happened. Jack felt the need to protect Sarah, to shield her from any pain that still lay in the shadows of his heart, while at the same time, he couldn't ignore the strain of nostalgia that Matt's presence had brought back. I know it's complicated, Matt said, his voice steady yet vulnerable. But maybe it's time for us to be honest with each other. His gaze flashed to Emma, and for a brief moment, a shared understanding passed between them. Unspoken apologies hidden in the corners of their eyes. Jack's chest tightened. What do you want, Matt? Are you looking for second chances, or just to unravel the past? Because he started, but the words caught in his throat. Because you feel the weight of every moment spent tiptoeing around the truth, Matt interjected smoothly, his gaze piercing through Jack. We've all lost so much. It's time to take risks. The crowd fell silent, none wanting to interrupt the moment that hung in the air like mist. For the first time, Emma stepped forward. What I want is to share my music without all these extra layers of pain holding everything back. Jack, do you remember the last time we played together? Jack nodded instinctively. That day lingered like the lingering scent of honey on a summer afternoon, wild and innocent, before life had injected chaos into their lives. Then let us do it. Emma's voice cut through the unease. Let us play. For once, let us turn our memories into something beautiful instead of burying them in fear. Jack felt a rush of hope nestled beneath his anxiety. Together? He asked, looking at Sarah, pleading for a sign. Their connection still flickered like a flame caught in a gust of wind, wavering but not dwindling. Together, Sarah echoed softly. It was a quiet agreement, an acknowledgement that the complexities of their lives were worth exploring, worth fighting for. The crowd buzzed with excitement as Emma returned to the piano, a sudden energy igniting among the townsfolk. Maggie stepped forward, intertwining herself into the moment as she added harmonies to Emma's beautiful chords, her voice carrying the echoes of encouragement. Jack stepped beside them, his fingers hovering just above the keys, heart pounding, the final notes of abandonment falling away. Emma began to play once more, the melody wrapping around them like an embrace, inviting them to commune with their history and transform it into something powerful. And there, enveloped in music, Jack let go. Every note that poured from the piano was like a bomb, healing old scars that he hadn't even realized he still carried. With each chord, forgotten laughter surged back, warm and vibrant. He closed his eyes, finding Sarah at his side, their shoulders brushing with a tentative warmth that told him they would face this together as their voices united in harmony. Jack sang not only of love but also of forgiveness for himself and for all the tangled feelings that had once held him back. Suddenly, he saw their futures unfurling before them, colorful and filled with possibility. When the last notes drifted into the air, the crowd erupted into cheers, but all Jack could see was Sarah. Her eyes shone like stars, filled with a warmth that both terrified and excited him. What happens now? She whispered, her voice laced with excitement and uncertainty. Jack's heart swelled as he neared her. We find a way to be happy, he replied resolutely. Together. The moment felt like an electric charge flowing through the crowd, lifting them all as they stepped closer to one another, breaking old barriers and transforming pain into promise. Let us not fear the truth anymore, Matt added, taking a step toward Emma. Let us embrace it as the rhythm of our lives. Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, and in that shared moment, a sense of unity bloomed. Jack grasped Sarah's hand tightly and smiled, knowing that facing their past together had opened the door to a future bright with promise. They would carve their path forward, embracing every moment, every note. This was their story, and it was just beginning. Looking around, Jack could feel the energy pulsing through them, the joy intermingling with that sweet, bittersweet nostalgia. They were moving forward, not just through the echoes of their past but toward a symphony of shared experiences. As the crowd began to gather closer, surrounded by twinkling lights and vibrant laughter, a single thought manifested in Jack's heart. This is just the beginning. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let us know what you think. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Your support means everything,